took her campaign of terror to people's homes.
That is Mr. place.
This guy who owns these labs?
He's the manager. We've been round and somebody can't imagine going through a brick window.
Fox hunters are also a favourite target in Ford's area. Hunts in Hampshire have frequently been disrupted by saboteurs. Gaynor Ford, working with a small group of other women, decided to target one hunt in Corhampton. She set fire to an empty bungalow here, knowing it could cause serious injury.
That was really funny because I got dropped off, shoved all this stuff through the left, and I was trying to light it and I couldn't get it to light. In the end I had a till seat, firelighters and napalm I put through there. We went up on the opposite hill and we were sat there watching, like, you know, well, it seemed to go out. I think it had run out of oxygen, you know. Yeah. But you know what happens, like, it's gone down, but as soon as somebody opens the door, it'll get backdraft, you know, and it goes boom.
Hampshire Fire Brigade confirmed later that it was a potentially serious arson attack, which could have caused an explosion. The ALF insists it doesn't endanger human life, but Gaynor Ford's activities make a mockery of this claim. This man used to work for Wickham Laboratories. He's one of Gaynor Ford's victims. He's now changed his job, but he's still worried about being a target. He wants to remain anonymous. In front of his house used to be a row of outbuildings. They were burnt to the ground when the ALF firebombed him.
I noticed a large glow through the window, which I thought was a bit strange. I looked out of the back door and found a good half of this line of sheds on fire, and the flames were 20 feet high, something like that.
It was a potentially fatal attack. The outbuildings back onto another house. There's only a 5-foot gap between the sheds and the home of an elderly woman.
If I had been away, or my other neighbours had been away and hadn't raised the alarm, her house would have been in flames within a few minutes.
Could she have been killed?
Without doubt, yeah. She's aged and infirm, so she was upstairs in a burning building.
The firebomber was never traced by the police, but Gaynor Ford boasted to our undercover reporter that she was responsible.
They were saying the flames were licking up the walls and it would get this old lady out and all this crap. And when I read that, I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, I don't want to ever get caught for that bugger.
No.
Has any cause been found for the fire?
Fused to the concrete base of the building, they found the remains of a cardboard box about 8 inches square. They told me it was a basic mix, primarily based on firelighters, probably set off by a very primitive fuse of some kind.
What device are you using at the minute?
Well, that's what I do is I get a cardboard box, any shoebox, as long as there's no markings on it. Well, it's okay if it says, like, Dr. Martens or something.
Yeah,
Dr.
a brand name, yeah.
Gaynor Ford then listed the precise ingredients of her bomb, all household products, easily available. We wanted to check she wasn't just making it up to show off, so we asked an explosives expert to analyse her knowledge.
She's very good. She's a very professional, very effective bomb maker.
A couple of bottles, you know the plastic bottles, the white spirit.
She knows the materials, she knows how to assemble them.
And just put them in the top, about 3.
She knows how to set up a rudimentary timing device.
When they get hot, they just explode.
Explode, yeah.
She has examined the contents that she's putting into the box and ascertained their effectiveness and the duration for which these different components will burn, and therefore how effective the whole device will be. This is not some crude bottle of petrol thrown at somebody's front door. This is somebody who knows what she's doing, and I suspect has used it.
You know, and it's so simple, but it's so effective. It's unbelievable. You know, I have to take you up and show you to the farm.
Yeah.
That was amazing how that went.
Dr. Mark Matfield speaks for scientists who use animals in their research. He's also on the latest death list, sent out through the Animal Liberation Front. He understands the movement better than most because he studies their propaganda. But finding out precisely how they operate and what they're planning has proved difficult.
A classical terrorist organisation would use a cell structure, and the ALF has something similar in that they tend to operate in small groups, which will be fairly self-contained. Some of them are quite paranoid about secrecy and work on the assumption they're always being followed and their phones are being bugged. Others are perhaps more naive and want to display all their activities over the newsletters that they produce to get a greater reputation.
In a highly secretive organisation with no formal structure, this was how activists kept in touch and spread ideas. One of the most popular of those newsletters was The Liberator. Aggressive and radical, The Liberator was extremely influential in the movement. Dispatches can reveal that Gaynor Ford was its secret publisher. 5 years ago, The Liberator announced a new campaign, razor blades, some loaded into mouse traps, posted to dozens of people. In a vicious twist, it was claimed some were contaminated with E. coli and HIV.
Doing the old razor blades was simple. Mouse traps as well.
Oh, you've done the mouse traps?
Loaded with razor blades, yeah.
One of the many victims on Ford's list was Professor David Walker, a vet who used to work at Wickham Labs.
I'm a toxicological pathologist, and that really means that I evaluate the tissues from animals which have been used for testing drugs and so on, and to assess the effects that these drugs may have had on them. The razor blades were just, they were stuck with resin adhesive inside the flap of an envelope, so that if you tried to open it with your finger, you would cut your finger.
We know a couple of people got cut fingers from them.
Oh, what a shame.
I know, heart bled.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole list in the Liberator of some of them that we did.
But the terror campaign against David Walker didn't stop at razor blades. Ford's Liberator magazine boasted he'd been sent a bomb.
Well, it was an incendiary device, and it was placed on the tarmac outside the house. It was placed in front of a rear wheel of a car. As it happened, it wasn't my car, it was a friend's. He just left his car with us, and he just came back to a charred wreck. There was a report in the local newspaper that responsibility had been claimed by a group. This was via the ALF press office. They were called ACDC. I don't know why.
Gaynor Ford does. She invented the name. And since she now believed Graham was ready to join her cell, it was one more secret she revealed. ACDC was named after two individuals closely associated with Wickham Laboratories. It's by creating cells like ACDC that the ALF attempts to distance itself from violent activities.
You know all these like little tiny groups?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That they call themselves different fucking names, don't they? But is it really all the ALF like?
Yeah, I mean, we had several different names. It depends what we were doing. We might choose a different name for a different sort of action, you know.
Throws people off the scent, don't they?
Yeah, it looks like it's another group that's doing it, but it's all comes under really the ALF banner.
Yeah.
Every time people are arrested for a particular campaign bearing a different name, it turns out that they are mainstream ALF activists. And there certainly is a policy amongst the ALF that by